Meditation for stressful times. When everything hits at once. There are times when life doesn't arrive in single pieces. It arrives all at once. One problem lands, and before your body has even caught its breath, another one follows. Then another. Not spaced out. Not politely waiting their turn. It can feel like being hit while you're already down. Like the last hurt hasn't even closed yet. And something new presses right on top of it. In moments like this, the pressure isn't just mental. It shows up in the body. Your chest might feel tight, like it's holding something in. Your jaw clenches without you noticing. Your shoulders stay raised, as if bracing for impact. Even when you're sitting still, something inside you feels rushed. There's often a sense of no pause. No space between one demand and the next. No quiet moment where you can say, "Okay, I've handled that, now I can rest." Instead, it's just ongoing. And underneath all of that, there's usually anger. Not dramatic anger. A tired, sharp kind. Anger at the timing. Anger at yourself. Anger that this is happening now, of all times. You might notice thoughts like, "Why can't I handle this better? Other people deal with more than this. Something must be wrong with me if I'm this overwhelmed." But even those thoughts don't always feel loud. Sometimes they're just a constant pressure. Like a weight you've been carrying for so long. You forgot what it feels like to set it down. There's also exhaustion here. Not just physical tiredness, but the kind that comes from staying alert for too long. The feeling of always needing to respond. Always needing to decide. Always needing to hold it together. And maybe there's grief too. Grief for the version of you that had more space. More patience. More softness. Grief for the moment you thought you'd finally be okay. And then realized you were. If you're in this place, it can feel deeply unfair. Like life didn't give you time to recover before asking for more. And the hardest part is this. You may already know what people say in these moments. You may already know the advice, the plans, the strategies, but knowing doesn't touch the feeling. Because right now, this isn't about organization or logic. It's about being hurt while still expected to function. Being overwhelmed while still expected to perform calm. That mismatch between how you feel inside and how you think you're supposed to be is often where the pain sharpens. If this sounds familiar, nothing about you is failing. This is simply what it feels like when stress doesn't come one piece at a time, but stacks itself without asking permission. You're not broken for feeling this way. You're responding to a lot all at once. And even numbing that can be a quiet form of relief. When stress comes in waves like this, something very natural happens inside you. Your system shifts. Not because you're weak. Not because you're bad at coping. But because your body is designed to protect you when it senses too much, too fast. When one problem follows another without space, your inner alarm doesn't get a chance to turn off. It stays on, quietly, constantly. In that state, your attention narrows. Your body leans forward, even if you're sitting still. There's a subtle sense of, "I need to deal with this now," running in the background. This is why calm feels far away in moments like this. Not emotionally, physically. The part of you that sorts, plans and prioritizes works best when there's a baseline sense of safety. But stacked stress pulls that sense of safety out from under you. So instead of clear thinking, something else takes the lead. Your mind becomes vigilant. It scans for what went wrong, what might go wrong next, what you should have done differently. This is often when self-criticism gets louder. Not because you suddenly believe those thoughts more, but because criticism is one of the fastest tools your system knows for trying to regain control. If I'm hard on myself, maybe I'll fix this. If I push myself, maybe I'll get ahead of the damage. It's not kindness, but it's an attempt at protection. And when people say things like, just focus on the most important task, or take it one step at a time, they're speaking from a calmer state than the one you're in right now. That advice assumes your system feels safe enough to choose. But when stress stacks up, choice feels limited. Everything feels urgent. Everything feels heavy. Even small decisions can feel exhausting. This is why logic can go quiet during these periods. Not permanently. Not because it's gone. It's just temporarily overshadowed by the part of you that's trying to keep you from falling apart. There's also often a sense of being personally at fault during times like this. As if you should have prepared better, managed better, been stronger. But that framing misses something important. Your reaction isn't a character flaw. It's a human response to overload. Any system, human or otherwise, struggles when demands exceed recovery. When there's no pause, no settling. So if you notice yourself feeling more irritable, more sensitive, or more reactive than usual, that's not you regressing. That's your system saying, this is a lot. Understanding this doesn't magically remove the stress, but it can soften the inner fight. Because when you realize that what's happening has a reason, even a simple one, there's often a little less pressure to punish yourself for it. And in that small softening, something important becomes possible. Not solutions yet, not action, just a different way of being with what's already here. When you're in the middle of stacked stress, the instinct is to do something with it, to push it away, to calm it down, to get on top of it before it gets worse. That instinct makes sense. It's what you've been taught to do: manage, regulate, optimize. But there's another option that often gets overlooked, because it doesn't look like progress from the outside. It's simply staying. Not staying in the sense of giving up, but staying present with what's already here, without trying to correct it. This can feel unfamiliar, even uncomfortable at first, because awareness doesn't rush. It doesn't argue with the feeling. It doesn't try to prove that you'll be okay. It just notices, not in a cold or analytical way, but in the way you might notice someone you care about sitting quietly beside you. You might notice how the stress shows up differently moment to moment. A tightening, then a release. A surge of thought, then a brief quiet. A heaviness in the chest that shifts when you exhale, even slightly. None of this needs to be controlled. You're not watching in order to fix. You're watching to stay connected. This matters because control often keeps the system tense, even when it's gentle control. Awareness, on the other hand, sends a different signal. I'm here with this. I'm not abandoning it. And something subtle happens when you stop treating the feeling as a problem to solve. The stress may still be there. The circumstances may not change, but the relationship shifts. Instead of stress being something that's happening to you, it becomes something that's happening in you. That distinction is quiet but powerful. When you relate this way, you may notice the urge to judge soften a little. The constant mental commentary eases, not because you silenced it, but because it doesn't need to shout as much to be heard. You're no longer fighting your own reaction. This isn't passivity. It's presence. And presence doesn't mean liking the experience. It just means allowing it to exist without adding a second layer of resistance. If you find your mind pulling you back into plans, worries, or self-criticism, that's not a failure of awareness. That's just the mind doing what it does under pressure. You don't need to stop it. You don't need to correct it. You can notice that too. The coming and going of attention. The pull toward fixing. The moment you realize you've been trying again. Each noticing is already a form of staying. Over time, not measured in minutes or techniques. This way of relating creates a small sense of steadiness. Not the steadiness of control, but the steadiness of not being alone with what's happening. And from that place, something important becomes possible. Not action yet. Not answers. Just a bit of space inside the stress, where you're no longer at war with yourself. If you want something to rest your attention on, not to make the stress go away, but to give it a place to land, you might choose a simple phrase. Not a mantra, not an affirmation, just a quiet acknowledgement. Something like, I see that I'm hurt. You don't need to repeat it rhythmically. You don't need to say it out loud. You don't even need to believe it fully. It can simply be there, like a hand resting on a table. You might notice how different this feels from telling yourself to calm down, or to be strong, or to move on. I see that I'm hurt doesn't ask for improvement. It doesn't demand clarity. It just names what's already true. If words don't feel right, you could let your attention rest somewhere physical instead. The weight of your body on the chair. The contact of your feet with the floor. The way the breath moves your chest or belly without effort. Not to slow it. Not to deepen it. Just to notice that it's happening. And if your mind drifts to the next problem, to the last mistake, to the pressure waiting for you later, that's not something to pull away from harshly. You might simply return to the phrase or the sensation, the same way you would return your attention to someone you care about. After being briefly distracted, there's no correct length of time for this, no right intensity. Even a few moments of this kind of attention can shift something subtle, not by removing the stress, but by changing how alone it feels. You may also notice that the urge to punish yourself softens here. The need to push or criticize loosens its grip. Because kindness, real kindness, doesn't require effort. It just requires permission. And this isn't about replacing your stress with calm. It's about letting calm coexist, even briefly, alongside what's difficult. If nothing changes, that's okay. If something does, that's okay too. The practice isn't measured by outcome. It's measured by presence. When stress arrives in layers, it can make you doubt yourself. Not just your abilities, but your basic sense of steadiness. It can feel like confidence disappears, like safety is something you have to earn back by fixing everything fast enough. But what you may have noticed here is that steadiness doesn't always come from solving. Sometimes it comes from staying, from not turning away when things feel messy inside, from not adding blame to pain, from letting yourself be exactly where you are, without demanding an explanation or a plan. There's a quiet kind of safety in that. Not the kind that says, nothing bad will happen, but the kind that says, whatever is happening, I'm still here with myself. That kind of safety doesn't depend on circumstances. It doesn't disappear when another problem shows up. It doesn't require calm as a starting point. It starts with presence. And from that presence, clarity often returns on its own timeline. Not forced, not rushed. You may find that the next step becomes obvious later. Not because you searched for it harder, but because your system had enough space to see again. Or you may simply find that the weight feels slightly more carryable. Either way, nothing here was about changing you, or improving you, or fixing something that was broken. This was about accompaniment, about recognizing that something difficult is happening, and that you don't have to meet it with harshness to survive it. If you're still in the middle of stressful times, that's okay. You're not behind. You're not failing. You're responding to a lot with the tools you have, in the body you're in. And for now, that's enough. Just this moment of being here, breathing, aware, not alone.